Top 10 Poorest Countries in the World. Hello viewers, welcome to another exciting edition and thanks for watching. Today we shall be talking about 10 poorest countries in the world. Many of the poorest nations in the world are places where issues such as authoritarian regimes, political turmoil, weak financial institutions, inadequate infrastructure and corruption deter foreign investments, despite the fact that many of them are immensely rich in natural resources and have a young, growing population. The poorest countries in the world might not be as obvious as you may have assumed. However, if you figure that every country that is listed as one of the poorest countries in the world is also a third world country or a nation with a public debt problem, then you are not far from the truth. While there are instances in which the two overlap, it is not fair enough to automatically assume that all the poorest countries in the world are also underdeveloped. This is mostly due to the negative connotations associated with countries classified as third world nations. If you are new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and turn on your post notifications so you don't miss any of our amazing videos. For the purposes of this ranking, we are going to consider the gross national income per capita. Number 10. Mali. The fourth largest country on the African continent, Mali's capital of Timbuktu once flourished as a trading post. Today, however, the country, which gained independence from France in 1960, has a GNI per capita of $1,953 and a life expectancy of 58.5. Ongoing wars and conflicts mean that the year of schooling in the country is just 2.3 compared to an expected 7.7 years of schooling. The World Bank's most recent data from 2009 revealed that over 41% of the population live below the poverty line. Number 9. Chad. Despite a $4 billion pipeline that links the country's oil fields to coastline terminals, Chad is one of the world's poorest countries thanks to poor infrastructure and conflict. Ongoing conflict and the effects of climate change mean that nearly 48% of Chadians live in a state of economic vulnerability. The country's per capita gross national income is $1,750 and its average life expectancy is 53.2 years. Most children receive a mean of 2.3 years of schooling instead of the expected 8 years. Number 8. Malawi. With well over 85% of the country's population of 16 million people living in rural areas and dependent on subsistence farming, the country's economy is fragile and very dependent on foreign aid. Malawi has a gross national income per capita of $1,180. In 2013, President Joyce Banda sold a presidential jet and a fleet of 60 luxury cars to feed the poor and grow crops to fight malnutrition, only to be embroiled in a financial scandal involving looting, theft and corruption within the government that went public the next month. In January of 2015, Malawi was in the news for another negative reason, as devastating floods left almost 250,000 people homeless and destroyed well over 64,000 hectares of cropland, furthering their economic woes. Number 7. Mozambique. Mozambique is a country rich in natural resources and has made great strides towards becoming one of Africa's fastest growing economies. However, the country is still recovering from a 16-year civil war that began when it gained independence from Portugal in 1975 and ended in 1992. The 2018 UN Human Development Report estimates a gross national income (GNI) per capita of $1,093 and a life expectancy of 58.9 years. According to the World Bank's most recent estimate in 2014, over 46% of Mozambicans live below the poverty line. While it anticipated that citizens will complete 9.7 years of schooling, the mean years of schooling completed is just 3.5. Corruption is said to be a massive problem in the country, which hinders the economic success of individual citizens. Unfortunately, due to lack of access to equipment, many agricultural workers are unable to yield as much as is necessary in order to make a profit. The economic situation in Mozambique is made worse by very poor infrastructure and access to vital services like clean water. Number 6. Sierra Leone. A UN peacekeeping mission helped to quell Sierra Leone's 11-year civil war in 2002. While the country's economy has grown in peacetime, it was one of the two countries hit hardest by the 2014-2016 Ebola epidemic alongside Liberia. The World Bank's most recent data predates this epidemic, with 2011 estimates indicating nearly 53% of Sierra Leoneans living below the poverty line. The country has a life expectancy of 52.2 years, with a GNI per capita of $1,240 and a mean years of schooling at 3.5 compared to the expected 9.8 years. Number 5. South Sudan. The Republic of South Sudan gained independence in July 2011, but has experienced a long history of conflict, displacement, and deepening humanitarian needs. As of 2016, the World Bank estimates over 82% of the South Sudanese population are living in extreme poverty. While mean years of schooling are comparable to expected years, 4.8 and 4.9 years respectively, life expectancy is just 57.3 years and GNI per capita is $963. Widespread displacement puts untold pressure on people's ability to cope, with over 2 million South Sudanese refugees living abroad and another 1.74 million internally displaced. Number 4. Niger. A combination of a GNI per capita of $906, life expectancy of 60.4 years, and a mean 2 years of schooling against an expected 5.4, Niger is the largest country in West Africa. Most of its territory is covered by the Sahara Desert, limiting the economic activities which the country's populace can engage in. Moreover, the country is completely landlocked and very resource poor. Even the 20% of the country not covered by the desert experiences periodic droughts. Climate change is amplifying the effects of the combined threats of desertification of arable land and salinization of drinkable water. Number 3. Burundi. The Republic of Burundi has been in conflict consistently since gaining independence from Belgium in 1962. Culminating in civil war in 1994, the conflict has left nearly 65% of the population living in extreme poverty. Its GNI per capita is a mere $702, with a life expectancy of 57.9 years. Most children only complete 3 years of schooling, against an expected education of 11.7 years. Burundi is a small country in Central Africa. Problems with government corruption and coups have crippled Burundi's ability to develop, and as a result, poverty is widespread. Liberia. Africa's oldest republic, Liberia, suffered from a series of civil wars between 1989 and 2003. While peace has now outlasted war, GNI per capita is a mere $667 with a life expectancy of 63. Liberia is often pointed to as an example of a failed state. The country has suffered and struggled mightily for a variety of reasons, including the recent outbreak of Ebola and the rise of militant groups and warlords controlling resources. The West African Ebola epidemic of 2014-2016 infected 10,675 Liberians and killed 4,809. The outbreak has had a lasting impact on the livelihoods of survivors. Number 1. Central African Republic. Unsurprisingly, the world's hungriest country is also one of the poorest. In the 2018 Global Hunger Index, the Central African Republic was the only country with hunger levels classified as extremely alarming. The connection between hunger and poverty is apparent here. 62% of Central Africans are living at or below the poverty line, with the UN indicating a life expectancy of just 52.9 years. The country's gross national income per capita is $663. Since early 2013, ethnic and sectarian fighting in CAR has developed from a silent emergency into a complex humanitarian crisis. Conflict has severely affected the livelihoods and living conditions of over half of the 4.6 million population. It has also forced over 500,000 citizens to flee to neighboring countries and has increased the number of Central Africans in need by 13% since March 2018. The country also has one of the world's highest rates of child mortality. The economy of Central African Republic is largely dependent on the export of diamonds, which brings in between 40 to 55% of the country's export revenues. However, it is estimated that up to half of those diamonds are sold on the black market, denying the government of tax revenue and undercutting honest, hardworking business people trying to do things the right way. Money is not solely for elaborate funding or exuberance. The hardest part about a world that revolves around money is that it becomes a necessity, to the point where countries cannot sustain a permanent state of cleanliness, invest in industries that would help the country flourish, or develop specific attributes that would elevate a developing country to a place of prosperity. It takes an awful lot of time, energy, and money to raise a country from the ground up. And without a national budget that is reasonable, countries fall short of funding. Thanks for watching. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, share with your friends, subscribe to our channel and turn on post notification.